It's not as good as the first one, better than the second one, and a return to form. All right, let's talk Ocean's 13 from 2007, directed by Steven Soderbergh again. And everyone is back from the previous two. But what I really appreciated and what really caught my eye about the third installment was that the new big baddie this time around, Al Pacino. And so it's at this point, I know in his career at this point, Al Pacino was basically playing himself in various kind of versions depending on the volume. But I love the idea that he was, just purely the bad guy in the comical sense. So I was really interested in seeing that. And as always, it's really the dynamic of this crew and their chemistry, all of the actors together, and how they're gonna tackle this new situation. And really, as the poster says, revenge is a funny thing. And that's another thing that really intrigued me about it to rewatch it over and over again is that the motivations for the crew to do this one other big job is motivated by revenge. So the premise is that Rubens, played by Elliot Gould in the previous movies, he is finally going to like put his hat in the ring, partner up with this guy that maybe doesn't have the best reputation, but he wants to go all in to have his own hotel and casino. And this other guy, played by Al Pacino, has a reputation for, yes, he has the most beautiful and luxurious hotels around the world, and he prides himself on winning like the most prestigious award for a hotel. And he wants to do like I think maybe the third one, something like that. And I want to win one more. And even though his reputation for working with people and screwing people over is there, Ruben says like, no, I think it's worth it. Let's do it. And what inevitably happens, Al Pacino screws him over. And Ruben basically has a breakdown, heart attack, stroke, something medical happens to him, and he's basically catatonic for most of the movie. And so now Danny Ocean and everybody else gets together. It's like, no, we're gonna do something for our friend who was always there for us, and we're gonna get back at this guy. So they decide to it's yes, stealing money is always part of the equation, but the main part of the equation is making sure that he does not win this award that Al Pacino is just so obsessed with getting. And how it all unfolds is really great. I thought the behind the scenes thing that they did is like they really built an entire casino. So that casino you see at the end when all the money is being stolen, they built that. And I love the intricacies of it because they really this shout out to the production designer because that casino looks great. It's believable. It feels lived in. No pun intended for those people who actually do kind of just gamble for days on end. But it's really great, and I also like the fact that the way that the games are rigged and how different members of the Ocean's crew how they're gambling and then making sure that the money is being lost by the casino. So aside from that, all well and good. But again, like I said, it's the chemistry, but also in general the rhythm of it. Like those montages that happen, especially in this particular one when everything is going down in the casino. The rhythm of it is just perfect. The music that is present in the first and the second one is there again. And so it really kind of adds this driving feeling to it of like, oh, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening, you know. And another thing I liked, I thought I was gonna miss it, but I actually didn't because Julia Roberts and Catherine Zeta-Jones do not appear in this one. And there's a moment at the very beginning when Brad Pitt's character says to Danny Ocean, it's like, okay, so like, what's up with Tess? And he just looks at her and says, it's not her fight. So I'm probably sure there was some scheduling or salary issues that contributed to the fact that she wasn't in this movie, but I think they made it work really, really well. Now, the other aspects of it that I always really enjoy, and really this is kind of an insight as well into the other things that I like about movies. I like the little micro movements and micro expressions and reactions that they have. Like there's this great scene in a motel room where their tech guy, Linus, is explaining to them how this particular machine is rigged for I think a blackjack game. And the first thing he says, he's like, okay, so they all sit in like a semicircle, like simulating being at a blackjack table. And so he says to George Clooney and a couple of the crew members, like, okay, so a deck of cards has 52. And George Clooney just kind of looks up at him like, are you seriously explaining to me how cards work? And so there's a lot of that going on. They also brought back Andy Garcia to play Terry Benedict in this one. And this one is like the enemy of my enemy is my friend because his character and Al Pacino's character super hate each other. So they were like, we have to bring you into this particular gambit. So that way it's more believable to the Al Pacino character. And, you also, you also get the chance to get one over on him. And that is really cool as well. And that goes to another little micro expression that George Clooney has when right before they were going to start that one gambit, he says to Andy Garcia's character, is like, all right, so are you ready? And in a very arrogant and pompous way, Terry Benedict says, like, I was born ready. And then he walks away, and then George Clooney just kind of rolls his eyes. So it's like little moments like that that I really like. I loved Eddie Izzard's appearance in this as well. And so, if there's one thing I can say, and this is what I really appreciate about Steven Soderbergh, is like, dude can really direct, not only from a technical level, but he really knows how to put the actors in a position where they just give their best and they have fun and they tell the story incredibly well. So, I'm not going to do Ocean's 8. We'll see. I'll watch Ocean's 14 and then maybe we'll talk about it if it actually ends up being made, but we'll see. Anyways, what about you guys? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.